right, midsegment and Pythagorean theorem. Get right into it. Midpoint. Finding point G, which is the midpoint of AC, somewhere in there. To do it, we need to add up the x values of A and C and divide by 2. So negative 6 plus negative 2 divided by 2. And then do the same for the y. So 11 plus negative 5 divided by 2. That means this midpoint here will be negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. This is 6 over 2, which is a positive 3. Do the same for point H, which will be the midpoint of AB, somewhere in there. For this one, again, add up the x values of those two, so negative 6 plus 6 divided by 2, and 11 plus negative 3 divided by 2. That means that this point will be 0, and then this will be 8 over 2, which is 4. Alright, so the next step is to find the slope. Slope is rise over run, the y's over the x's. So to find slope of CB, we'll use the y values for those. So the y value would be negative 3 minus negative 5. And then the x value for those would be 6 minus negative 2. So that means that I'm going to end up on top of 2 over 8. And then that would simplify to 1 over 4. I want to do the same for GH. Well, I just found points G and H. I do the same thing. Subtract the y from the top, so 4 minus 3. And the bottom would be 0 minus negative 4. And that will simplify also to 1 over 4. So, because the two slopes are the same, these are parallel lines. That's all you need to say there, but you need to understand why. It's because those two are the same. Now, last part is the distance formula for each. For CB, again, using points C and B, using the distance formula, I'm going to subtract the x values, so 6 minus negative 2, and I square it. Then I subtract the y values, so it should be negative 5 minus negative 3 squared. So, what does that mean I'm going to get? Excuse me, I should get, this will become 8 squared, which is 64, and this will become 2 squared, which is 4, so I get the square root of 68. And then for this other one, square root of for G and H, same thing. I'll have the x's will be 0 minus negative 4 and square it. And then I'll have 4 minus 3 and square it. So this is the square root of, this becomes 4 squared for 16. 1 squared is 1, so the square root of 17. The last step, show that GH, the second one we found, is half of the big one. What we need to do is pretty much show this one that I can factor out 4 from 68 so that I can then pull out 2 sets of 2 and make it 2 on the outside. So the way to do that, I want to try to say, well, this should be the square root of 4 times something else. And it really is square root of 4 times 17. So I can rewrite that as 2 root 17. 2 root 17, is this twice as big as this one? Yes, that's all you need to show for that one, and then you're done with that first problem. Alright, next one. We have a midsegment here. Remember, each midsegment is parallel to the side opposite. So BC is parallel to HG. Same thing, AB is parallel to GJ. And then for this one, if AB is 10, that means the parallel segment is half of its length. So 5 there. HJ is a midsegment, so its parallel side of the big triangle should be twice as big, 12. Now, if I say HG is 12, BC should be twice as big, 24. HG is 12 again. What is JC? Well, remember, this is a midsegment, so if the whole thing is 24, each little one should be half of that, so 12. So that's all you need to do for this. Alright, Pythagorean theorem time. I would first look and say, what do I need to find for each one? So I would just mark them. I would have a C here. I would call that A or B. Same here, A or B. There's C for number 4. This is A or B because it's a leg. And this is A or B because it's a leg. Only time you'll have C is if it's across from the box. And from there, it's just plugging it in. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I have A and B already. 12 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared. I should get 369 for C squared, which means I take the square root of each side. C equals the square root of 369, which if you put it into a decimal would be about 19.21. Okay, for number 2, I would have here, I need to know what A is, so I'll do A squared plus, here's my other leg, 7 squared equals 21 squared. I'm going to get A squared plus 49 will equal 441. Subtract that 49 over, I end up getting A squared equals 392, which means A equals the square root of that, approximation will be about 19.80. Number 3 down here, very similar in setup. I need to know a squared still. I don't know a. B is 43, and C is 98. Square both of those. When I square and then subtract the 43 over, I should get a will equal the square root of 7755, which is approximately 88.06. Number 4 is the same as number 1. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I want to find C, so this is straightforward. Just add up 4 squared and 7 squared. I end up getting 16 plus 49 is 65 for C squared, which means C is the square root of that, which approximates to be 8.06. Number 5 down here, we want to find A again. So A squared plus B, my other leg is 24 squared, equals my hypotenuse 73 squared. So A squared will equal, when I do the squaring and subtract it, I'll get 4753. That means A equals the square root of that, the square root of 4753, which approximates to 68.94. And the last one over here, I need to find A again. So A squared plus the other leg 5 squared equals 13 squared. I am getting A squared plus 25 equals 169. A squared equals 144. So A equals the square root of that, which comes out evenly to be 12. So if it comes out evenly like this one does, you better not try to leave it as the square root of 144 because that can be simplified. Alright, word problems. All you need to do, try to draw the triangle the best you can. So, we're going in a straight line to somewhere that is, so if you're starting down here, city, one way east, one way north, complete your triangle. You went 400 miles in one direction, 600 in the other direction. This is what I need to find is the straight line, the hypotenuse here. So, again, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. 400 squared plus 600 squared equals whatever C is squared. When I do these, expand them out, I end up getting 528,000 miles per C squared. That means that C will equal the square root of that many miles, which ends up being 721.11 miles for number 7. Alright, number 8, we have a ladder leaning against the house. So, if you want to draw a house because you're artistic unlike me, then you can do so. There's my ladder leaning against it. It's a terrible ladder. I know the ladder is 40 feet long, and I know the base of this ladder is 15 feet away from the house. So I need to know this side right here, which I will call A. So, because it's a leg, here's my right angle. That's why A is a leg. 40 ends up being your hypotenuse. So A squared plus B squared here is 15 squared equals 40 squared. Simplify this, I'll subtract 15 over, or let me make it A squared plus, this will be 225, will equal 1600. Then when I subtract it over, A squared equals 1375, which means A will equal the square root of 1375, which is approximating to be about 37.08. My units there is feet, again because I have feet in the problem. Number 9. This is the one that everybody should do because we spent the most time on it. Isosceles triangle with 30, 30, and 40. To find area, I need to know this height right here. So to do that, I've essentially made a smaller right triangle in here. This height is a leg that I don't know yet. 30 is my hypotenuse, and this side right here ends up being half of this base. The base is 40, so that one is 20. So what I'm going to do is say A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'll call my height to be A, so let's call that still A, plus B squared is 20, and C squared is 30. So that means that my height here ends up being A squared equal to 500, which means A equals the square root of 500. That's approximately 22.36 feet. That's what the height is. Find the area is 1/2 times base times height. That's how you find area of a triangle. So 1/2 times, we just said the base was that square root of 500, or you can plug in that decimal, times the height, well that was the height, I'm sorry, the base is this big long base. So you should have, if I move that over for you, 1/2 times the base is 40, the height is the square root of 500. And when I plug that in, I'll get 447.21. My units for area are feet squared. Number 10, a soccer player standing 35 yards away from a wall. They're going to kick a ball against the wall. They want to know how far it goes if it hits 20 yards up the wall, and he was 35 feet away from the wall. So there's your setup. We want to find this distance, that's the hypotenuse. So this is straightforward. 20 squared plus 35 squared equals c squared, which is what I want to find. That means that c will equal the square root of 1625, because c squared equals 1625. And that approximates to about 40.31 yards. And again, yards because that's what it was in the problem. Alright, last one. On your baseball diamond. So we've done a couple with the baseball diamond. Here's the pitcher's mound. They want to know the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate. There it is, or we want to know to third base. We know home plate is 60. We know each baseline is 90. So there's the triangle you have set up right now. Here's my right angle box. That means that this is a leg that I want to find. I need to find A. So that means A squared plus my other leg next to the box is 60 equals 90. Each one of those squared. So that means when I do the subtraction, I'll get A squared will equal 4,500 when I do those squares and subtract. A will equal the square root of 4,500, which is about 67.08 feet as my answer. So there you go. Make sure you can do all these. Make sure you, especially you can set up the triangles for these application problems. And everything hopefully should be in good shape.